Ever wonder what England was like more than 1,500 years ago? The enchanting city of Canterbury shows us a past that teaches us a history that's still relevant today. Welcome to Canterbury, England. That's right, Canterbury from Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. But why are we here? It's because it's an UNESCO World Heritage Site and it has a Roman wall. And it doesn't hurt that it's kind of cute too. Let's go explore. The UNESCO World Heritage Site here in Canterbury is comprised of 3 sites. First one is St. Martin's Church. It's the oldest church continuously operating in the English-speaking world. Part of it was built during the Roman times, sometime before 410. Let's go check it out. Apparently this is the oldest part of the church. It's made of long Roman bricks. Those are Roman bricks. This was Queen Bertha's space. Queen Bertha married the King of Kent, who was a pagan. She was able to convert him to Christianity, and they in turn then donated land and property to Augustine and the monks to help establish Christianity in this part of the country, and ultimately the entirety of Britain. We are at St. Augustine's Abbey. It's one of 3 locations here in Canterbury that make this region an UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was established in 597 AD when Augustine and 20 other monks came to England at the request of Pope Gregory to evangelize, to make England a Christian nation. It had become a pagan nation because of the barbarian tribes that had invaded the country after the Romans left. Augustine comes here, establishes a church, and starts this abbey, which then becomes an incredible place for learning and worshiping for more than 900 years. Then we have King Henry VIII, who parts ways with the Catholic Church in 1532 because he wanted to get a divorce and the Pope wouldn't let him. In 1538, he decides to get rid of the abbeys and monasteries in England. 1541, that process of being destroyed starts. I don't know about you guys, but I find this incredibly sad that this place was demolished basically because of a vindictive king. In 1692, an earthquake shook the city of Canterbury, and so whatever was left here collapsed and destroyed much of what was here. We have the original resting place for St. Augustine, the first Archbishop of Canterbury. Even though the Church of England is not Roman Catholic, which St. Augustine was, they still revere him as the person who brought Christianity to England. There's a small museum on the site we're checking out. The cool things here in this museum is this virtual reality. So because it's ruined, it's hard to visualize everything, but put on the headset and we can see what it used to look like. Now we check out the outside. This is a notional version. It's nowhere near as ornate as it probably was. This looks like a lot of the other churches we've been into. This predates many of the ones we've seen. We're going to walk towards the front there. Okay, let's speed this up. So we're going outside to the courtyard. Let's go to the library. Their initial stash of the books here was given to them by Pope Gregory. Eventually, a lot of the monks that lived here made their own. They wrote the text, they illustrated the text. Pretty incredible. We are in Canterbury Cathedral, the 3rd element of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. This was initially started in the late 500s. Thank goodness it wasn't destroyed by King Henry VIII. Arguably, the cathedral is famous because it was here that Thomas Becket, an Archbishop of Canterbury in the 1100s, was murdered after battling with King Henry II. So many pilgrims flocked here that the steps have indentations where they climbed the steps on their knees. To the site of his murder, a shrine has been built to honor the martyr and saint, but King Henry VIII destroyed it, along with Becket's bones. Throughout the cathedral, the stained glass windows tell stories of miracles attributed to the saint.
This is a story of 2 men who had a dispute. One accused the other one of stealing money from him. A judge found the man guilty. His punishment was to be blinded and to be castrated. The sentence is carried out. He prayed to Thomas, who appeared to him in a dream. And I love this one because he's like Superman coming out of his shrine, you know, and said, if you come to Canterbury, you will be cured. And in the dream, Thomas also comes to him and pours some of the holy water into his eyes to cure his blindness. We don't see the other bit being repaired. In this corner, we see the man, after he's regained everything, kneeling at the tomb down in the crypt, giving thanks. And here we see him finally going home, and he's pointing to his eyes, saying, "I can see again." And someone here is pointing down here, saying, "Yes," and everything else is back where it should be.
One great way to visit Canterbury is by water. Ride a punt boat. Somebody else does the work. You get to enjoy the sights and hear the commentary.
My name is Ben, and welcome to the Punting. The river starts up in Lenham. A small little town of spring, natural spring, so it's fresh water. Peter Express. It is actually built in a 14th century forge, this building. Lovely. These boats are called punts because the Dutch brought them over to England. It's just the Dutch word for boat. Used mainly for work. I can push up to 1.5 tons on one of these boats, which if you think in terms of moving, raw resources, that's quite a lot of stuff which would just pay one man to move. 6-story wooden building caught fire just after the First World War and burnt so vehemently that it burnt for 3 days. At which point the fire service were left in a very dire situation of, well, what do we want to save, boys? The pub's on fire, the mill's on fire, the pub is still there. When Henry VIII made being Catholic in England a crime, the Catholic French made being Protestant in France a crime, and were fleeing France. The group of Belgians was specifically known as Huguenots, who came and settled here and were given refuge in Canterbury and were given that building to continue their weaving craft. But the name really stuck with the locals and forever since been known as the Old Weaver's House. And that there's an Oxford-style punt. Ahoy! Thank you very much for coming today, guys. Hope you've had a lovely time.
Thank you. One of the must-sees here in Canterbury is the Roman Wall. It was started 2 millennia ago and then fortified over the years, including into the medieval period. One thing that struck us is what it's made of, and we've seen this material all through southern England. Stone tools are made of flint because there's no native stone that they can use to build things here, so flint it is. This Roman wall was so well built that even 1,000 years later, it helped protect Canterbury from Viking invaders for 20 days using a wall that was 1,000 years old. It's pretty good. One thing to keep in mind, you can't walk all along the 1.5-mile perimeter of this wall, but even if you only walk part of the wall, it helps you understand the incredible history that's here. We've explored what was above ground, but what did it look like below ground? It's the civilization that existed before 400 AD, the Romans. Let's go check that out. This is an artist's rendition of what Roman Canterbury looked like in 150 AD. British cloth was regarded some of the best in the Roman Empire. The British weavers continued to make cloth in the same way even after the Romans left, and even adopted the same tartan patterns you see today. They didn't have plastic, so what did they do? They used animal bone. They used that to make hairpins, combs, handles. And here's a roof. Check out this. There's little paw prints, little doggy paw prints. Can you make it out? Here we have some of the best evidence of Christianity in Canterbury. This was found with some inscriptions on it. This shows that the person who was buried with it was Christian. During World War II, Canterbury did not escape the wrath of the Germans. In June of 1942, they dropped 130 explosives and 3,600 incendiary bombs. 43 civilians were killed that night, 12 military personnel, but hundreds of homes were destroyed. There was a second attack later that year, and 30 more people were killed. World War II Blitz uncovered parts of a very large Roman townhouse in the city. It was built around 70 AD. Just in 1980, archaeologists found skeletons of a whole family. Mom, dad, kids, even a dog. They found a home that was really huge, and the only reason they found it was because it's been waterlogged for 2 millennia. That helped preserve it. I've always thought I was short. Let's see how tall I am against a typical Roman woman. Oh my goodness, I'm actually tall. Can try on a toga. I'm gonna try me a Roman helmet. Oh my gosh, they're heavy. Okay, I'd get a headache after a while. At the end of the tour, you can learn how to use a loom, make something like this. What better way to end this vlog than a nice high up view of the city. So we're going to go to the top of Dane John Mound. This was once a Roman burial ground. I hope you enjoyed this little visit to the city of Canterbury, learned a little bit, but hopefully it enticed you to come back yourself. Thanks for joining me on Mary Goes Round the World. Tip of the week for you. If you're looking for a new challenge, how about getting a pilgrim passport? You can get stamps from various places with proceeds going to conservation efforts.